Scottie Scheffler cannot stop winning this year. Winning his fourth this year at the RBC Heritage PGA Tour event, obviously winning the Masters early this year for his second major. And whilst there's been a lot said about his funky leg action and his full swing, Scottie Scheffler, in my opinion, is one of the best low chippers there is on tour. He chips in all the time at the moment. It's actually getting annoying. Players just cannot keep up with him. So what I thought I'd do, instead of looking at his full swing, I thought we'd have a look at his low chip and run technique in this video to see what we can learn and what we can copy. In both of these shots, he's using a lob wedge. Scottie seems to choose to use a lofted either lob wedge or 54, 56 degree wedge to hit most of his low running shots, mainly because of the type of grass he's playing on. Now, maybe if he played a bit more in the UK or on links courses, he'd hit a lower iron, maybe a 9 or an 8 iron, but all these shots are played with his 56. Now, in the face on is he's got the ball way back in his stance. He's not afraid to move the ball back because that helps de-loft the club. It turns that 56 or 60 into like a wedge or a 9 iron. So that's where you need to start if you're going to use your 60 or your lob wedge for all of the shots around the greens. Interestingly, Scottie's trigger seems to be addressing the ball with his hands loose and open, and then gripping the club, pushing his hands forward, and then taking it away. All the best players in the world have triggers. They're never static. They never freeze over the ball. They don't stand over the ball very still for very long. And it's just interesting to see that. I really encourage golfers who struggle with their chipping to keep moving, distribute the weight, take the hands off the club. Just the longer you stand still over the ball thinking about what you're about to do, the more likely you are to hit a duff shot. So I like the fact that he just grabs the club, little forward press, and then goes.
Thanks very much for watching the videos. If you can please like and comment to boost the engagement, and subscribe if you don't already, that'd be great. If you like what I put out in these videos, you like what I say about technique, I can actually help you with your game no matter where you are in the world. So if you just want to click the link in the bio, it'll take you to Skillist, which is an online coaching platform, and there you can look to see what I do, and actually I can help you with your game. So analyze your swing, give you some drills and tips to help you improve, so we can work together to help you lower your handicap. But anyway, let's get back to the video.
Scottie takes the club back with quite a lot of wrist hinge, I would say. That little forward press just increases the wrist hinge, and by the time he gets to sort of first parallel, you can see that his right wrist has hinged backwards and the club is up. As he takes the club back and hinges his right wrist backwards, he actually, in doing that, bows his left wrist slightly. He's definitely not trying to keep loft on the club. He's not trying to open the face up. Scottie's a very steep chipper, so that shut face, that steep angle of attack is going to help him drive the ball low with loads of spin. So he's in a position here where he looks like he's actually set up with a maybe slightly open face, but he's bowed his lead wrist and hinged his right wrist backwards, which picks the club up nice and steep. There's definitely no low and inside in Scottie's takeaway. He picks the club up really quite high, but very early. The club actually moves outside in that first move, which is quite interesting. We don't see that an awful lot. Club goes up and away, very steep, and then comes down above his original sort of address line, and that's probably what helps him guarantee so much contact. Now, there's a lot to be said about steep versus shallow. I don't really want to get into that, but Scottie is a really steep chipper, especially when he's hitting these low shots. He might not be when he's hitting like a flop shot, but certainly on these low spinners, he's really steep into the back of the ball. So he's hinging the club up with his wrists on the way back. You can sort of see how loaded that right wrist is. He's got the face closed, which is a good position if you want to hit it low. And then as he swings down, he's holding that right wrist, he's holding the left wrist, and he sort of punches down on the ball. What's really interesting here, without moving into what his body's doing, is actually the path of the club through the ball is basically like a straight line, sort of straight up. That's really interesting. He has the club traveling down quite steep into the ball, and then the club then moving up very steep on the way through. He's definitely not shallow. He's not moving the club around himself. He's picking the club quite steep up going back, and then he's swinging through the shot very straight. which might be something to work on. So if we now to move into Scottie's body and what he does so well to allow him to strike the ball nicely every time. As he takes the club away, he's got a very small amount of left lean. You can sort of see here how from there to the top of his swing, look how his ear moves into that red line. Look how his left hip moves into that red line. Now that's shifting his low point forwards. That actually steepens the angle of attack even more. He's got a shut face. He's got his weight forwards. He's hinged his wrist. Now a lot of golfers would be saying, "Oh my God, he must be about to stab the club into the ground, dump the club in the ground, maybe fat it." But what he does really well, which is definitely something that amateur golfers should be working on, is look at how much height he gains into contact. That is probably three inches of height he's moving up into the ball from the top of his backswing, that is really the magic move that makes all of his steep tendencies work. So look at, again, as the club's moving down, his head is moving up. So that turns his swing from steep, shut face, hinge wrist, weight forwards, ball back. They're all steepening moves. And the reason he doesn't just dump the club in the ground is because his head is moving up as he swings down. Now that might be something that's quite hard to get your head around, especially if you're a golfer who believes in keeping your head down. But there's nothing down about Scottie's head in this stroke. He starts off tall, he moves down and left on the way back, and then as he stands on the way down, he stands up and then finishes nice and tall. And that way he's able to keep the loft down, but also not stab the club into the ground. It actually almost like it's the one shallow move in his swing that just complements all the steep moves he has. So you can see here how he delivers his hands well ahead of the ball, which is great for taking loft off. Look at that position there. He's really holding it. He's really trying to drive that one in low. And then what's really interesting to me is how tall he finishes. Look at where his eyes get to into his finish position. Poor chippers generally have all of those steepening moves, but they don't have that shallowing move of standing up through the ball. So if you want to hit that low spinner like Scottie's holed out with so many times over the past few weeks, we want to work on a hinged trail wrist, weight moving forwards on the way back, but then critically, we have to get our head moving up in the downstroke and then finishing in a tall position here. Otherwise, we're just going to drive the club down into the earth and probably chip even worse. So get yourself out on the range, take a few balls. This is a block practice session that you can work on, where you've got the ball back, we hinge the club back, we lean forwards, and then we stand up on the way down. And that's just going to allow you to hit the bottom three grooves. It's going to hit the ball with loads of spin, and you might find yourself holing out more and more too.